Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. You guys missed a heated debate in Rumble earlier. No, you didn't. We didn't talk about anything important. I am Hammer, and I am joined, as always, by my two favoriteest minion hosts in the whole world, Genty Maxi.
Hello.
And Terry DeMattis.
Hello.
How you doing, Jen?
I'm good. I'm not looking forward to tomorrow, though.
Yeah.
Like I said, the mystery of orders and going in and not knowing what. So we did have a strike in our BC ports, and it's been going on for a while. I didn't say anything because it wasn't important. Like, unless anything's moving on it, there's nothing to say. I think it was affecting you guys too, though, because believe it or not, we share ports. Like, we'll ship things from you, and vice versa if it's cheaper. But yeah, my company has had back stock that they've been pushing on all our stores for like the last 2 to 3 weeks, just to try to make space for what is going to be a mega dump. Because for some reason nobody just stopped ordering stuff. They've still been ordering stuff. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. For us, it's going to be towels. I keep telling my management it's towels and blankets, so be prepared for the people in our area who for some reason have to take them out of the bag. I don't understand it, Terry. There is this species of humanity that can see a glass door and still need to open it up to review the subject matter. Now, I understand if you need to actually, see the contents of it, like you're reading a label. But most people aren't doing that. They're just opening it up and they're like, I need to see what the item is. And then they leave the door open, or, it's annoying.
Yeah.
How you doing today, Terry?
I'm okay, though apparently you don't have an icon anymore. That just fits.
Yeah. Well, I think I've gotten used to the fact that if I start to stream, that the YouTube icon is just going to be wrong. I don't know what to do there. Unless like I explained earlier, because we were talking about this on Rumble, that there's something goofy about how my icon's being handled by both versions of OBS. And I went through and tried to fix everything and make them all the same. And even though everything is technically the same on the YouTube screen, the Rumble one worked this time for some reason.
Yes.
And the YouTube one was still screwed. So I had to, and it's not centered again. So I have work to do. It's getting to the point now that after we spoke on Rumble, I think I have a way of doing this on my own time without having to get anyone else involved. So hopefully next week, if I have time between now and next week should go off without a hitch, but of course it won't.
Well, we live in hope, but half the fun is seeing how exactly going to fall apart.
What's going to break this time? Geez, I hate to use the phrase, but it is a duct tape production.
There you go.
Yeah. Before we get too much into the topics, go ahead and see who's in chat with us tonight. Over on Rumble, wondering Lisa, first person to channel. Kiwi Dam, hi, sweetie. Green Badger, not outdoors, and Tyr, Alexander. You get a chance. Tyr does a midnight broadcast. I forget the name of it. I was on his show a week ago, and it was a lot of fun. I'll let him put.
It's just called the Midnight Show, so it's like not got a fancy name.
I pretty much nailed it just by accident, right? And who else? Spud Gun's out on Rumble, and is that everybody? Badger, Spud Gun, very talkative chat in Rumble.
Yes.
Yeah, I was too busy trying to fix problems. J Blizza 427.
That's JB, yeah.
Yeah, JB. Scrolling. I'm scrolling this entire time. That's how much people were talking Rumble. You guys on YouTube are missing out on all this wonderful stuff. And speaking of YouTube, Lisa also on YouTube. Our Sunday show, Mr. Adam was out on, and Spud's over there as well. JB, of course, also Tyr. Green Badger actually outdoors is on YouTube. And I'm sure people, Addie's out there. Hey, Addie. And I'm sure people will roll in as the night goes along. So
they usually do.
The topics for tonight. I reordered everything on my screen, so I'm not. I have to find out where the topics are.
Struck
There we go.
Oilers King.
Yes, struck Oilers and kinged. Me be trying to be, innovative with the name. Struck is what's going on with the SAG and WGA. SAG joins Hollywood Writers Strike. Have you guys heard about that?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
I've seen it everywhere on Twitter.
And then Oilers. I don't know if you've been seeing this on Twitter from time to time,
Yeah.
but there seem to be people who are trying to stop the production of oil, and they keep clogging up thoroughfares by walking really slowly down the center and keeping people from using the roads as roads.
I'm mentally preparing myself for all the memes that are going to come out for the blonde lady who yanked the one off the street with the hair, because she's based blonde. She is the new based blonde.
So the blonde that was in the airplane saying that motherfucker is not real, she's gone.
No.
And now we have a new blonde.
Yeah, we've got a new blonde. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could see more memes coming up for that one because, like, I think some of the men are taken by her beauty, and that's a standard. But
I do like that that motherfucker's not real.
That meme?
That is quite amusing. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a guy I follow on Twitter called Alpha Fox.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of video or image editing, a lot of photoshopping, and he's put her in like wedding dresses and camo outfits and bikinis and all this kind of stuff. It's very good work too. It's really well done. You almost have to look at it like, is that Photoshop or is that real? And then the final category, kinged. American soldier Travis King decides that he wants to be part of North Korea because he was facing some disciplinary actions he'd actually spent a couple of weeks in jail, in civilian jail, for misbehavior, and was facing charges in the military once his civilian time was done. And he just put on a pair of jeans and a t-shirt and ran across the demarcation line, and they snatched him up, and now he's in their jail. So that's what's going on with him. We get all that. Plus I didn't mention it before, but I wanted to, if we have time, to touch on Jason Aldean. Do you know who that is?
Nope.
He's a country singer. And he made a song that got people all messed up.
I heard about the country song. I didn't know who sang it.
Yeah, the song is "Try That in a Small Town." Have you heard it?
That's one. I haven't heard the song, but I've seen the title and all the complaints about it.
Yeah, Jen, have you heard the song?
No, I haven't. But I can imagine.
It's actually a slow country song. It's not a. I thought it was going to be like a country rap tune when I read the lyrics, but it's actually very much a 12-string guitars and slow pace and a lot of strings and very calm. The actual music, it wasn't a high paced or an electric or a bebop or anything like that. It's very, very soft song. But
if I could
he's racist.
If I could get away with playing a South Park clip, it would be the building a ladder to heaven.
If the guy is racist, I already like him. So just send me a link to his song, and I'll be sure to give it a thumbs up.
Well, it's out on YouTube.
At this point, I don't know that I'm going to have any judgment on that one, just because everything is racist according to the weirdos that run the world. But
anything that's not racist, I want no part of. So being racist just gets your foot in the door. You actually have to still be good as well as racist, but racist is a requirement, just flat out.
I got to imagine that the song is so hot right now that I probably couldn't play like 3 seconds of it without having them just rip our stream down. But I can.
I think it depends. Like if he's the kind of guy who just wants exposure, then like maybe he doesn't care and he actually wants people to play it to get his name out there.
Well, that's what Tom McDonald used to do.
Yeah,
or I think he might even still be doing it.
I'm just saying I wouldn't risk it, but it may be the case that he would actually not strike anyone and just be like, hell yeah, get my name out there so I'll get more sales eventually.
See, I wouldn't be offended by this. I would just yet again call out the mainstream, because every time they want to hide something or they disapprove of something, all they really do is direct traffic to it.
Yeah.
It's Streisand effect.
It is like, yeah, like everything they've done to hide this movie that I'm not going to mention yet because that should be a different topic. But it's the same thing. Anything they disapprove of, don't look this way. And then everyone's like, well, now I want to know because I've been devoid of joy for so long because of you assholes. Anything
The thing
funny is no. So now I want to see it.
The thing I love about the Streisand effect is not only did Barbara Streisand's attempts to get the photos of her house taken down fail, it is now so famous that it is a term that is used the whole internet over, which is just going to bring even more attention to a goddamn house.
Yep.
I just love the true extent of how badly that blew up in her face.
It has now become synonymous with anybody trying to take anything down. She's made it that popular. The lyrics for the song, "Try That in a Small Town." Obviously, I'm not going to sing it. I don't want to hurt anybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the lyrics go: sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk, carjack an old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. Y'all think it's cool? Well, act a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town. Got a gun on that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're going to round up. Well, that shit might fly in the city, but good luck.
I got to say, his racism needs a lot of work. I'm
Yeah,
not impressed.
Not very racist for a racist tag, is it?
No, not at all.
No, it's a little bit oddly prophetic because lately the thing that a lot of people have been protesting is this trend for certain. I don't know if it's TikTok that's the trend where they're using the app, but these people going to foreign countries just so they can kind of use the app to be dickish. Like it's like Mizzies, but in Japan, or like you wouldn't really do that in the US. Let's be real. Like a lot of the shit that they do, you wouldn't do that in the US. Not even in the hood would you do some of the shit that those kids have been doing. And this guy just puts out a song that is like, yeah, you wouldn't do that.
Pretty generic song.
Usually is. It's country.
Yeah.
No offense. I like the fact that they're simple that way, but
I'm right there with you. If you can play 4 chords on a guitar, you can play just about every country song. They aren't complicated. That's probably the reason why I don't like them, is because I could, I don't even play guitar, and I'm sure I could figure out the 4 chords of this song.
I mean, as we've said, like almost every popular song, you only need 4 chords. That was like the whole bit with the Axis of Awesome.
It's true with pop music too. But I mean, if you go back to classic rock, none of that shit's the same.
Of course, yeah. I'm talking pop music.
That's probably the reason why I still prefer that style of music. I really prefer the old rock and roll, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, that era. I still like it because there's nothing fucking like it. It's just completely different.
He likes that old kind. He likes that old time rock and roll.
Old time rock and roll, and Bruce Springsteen. Even though in his later years he's gotten kind of predictable, but back in the days, that kind of music, Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, how many times you can hear a song that sounds anything like that?
Oh yeah.
Let me put it to you this way. The kids are so used to crappy music that like they get one song from the 80s and they cream over it. Like, sorry, it was Stranger Things that did Running Up That Hill. I'm like, that song is so old. So many people have done it. Like, I've heard male versions of it that were really good. Her version's always going to be amazing because her voice had range and stuff. But, they act like they've never heard real music before. One of my favorite groups is Still Heart, just because both sisters are insanely talented.
It was Anna Wilson, and who's the other Wilson sister?
I always have to look her up. I
Yeah.
shouldn't.
Like that.
Did you hear that the heavier girl, the girl with the dark hair, who was the singer, not the guitar player. Guitar player was a blonde. But she lost almost all of her weight. She's like the same as her sister now.
I wouldn't be
No.
surprised. Like, I think a lot of the old crowd, like, they were so cool for their age. You know, I think a lot of them are kind of like, they're getting to that age where it's like, if I want to keep going longer, I have to smarten up.
Hmm.
Like, I even look at like Roseanne Barr. Like, she's gone through like, she's had medical crises. Like, she
Yeah.
described what she went through with her kids. Like, she did have 5 kids. That probably did cause her problems. It probably did. You know, she did have issues with her eyesight. Like, I think she had I don't know if it was the same thing that BG had, but I think it was similar, because I know she got hers replaced because she doesn't have to wear the glasses anymore. But she still looks better than Madonna, and Madonna's 65.
Oh my god, that was
Madonna looks like an
like a
alien.
mummy.
She looks so creepy nowadays.
Yeah. How's it going, Frosted? And who else? Someone else just joined. Who else just joined?
Sorry if if Logic
I just
or
saw the name and
Chuck
now I-
comes to visit and he's like, "Why are you picking on Madonna again?" I'm just saying Roseanne looks better and she's in her 80s.
Oh, Plague Trucker Zach. I'm sorry. I want to make sure I catch everybody. Yeah. No, I didn't grow up on Elvis. That was a little bit before my time. I grew up on Electric Light Orchestra. And
I mean, Elvis was awesome, though. I mean,
oh yeah, but
I
Tyr said in chat.
I wasn't around when he was like alive, but
Yeah.
I mean, listening back to his stuff, he was incredibly good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he basically took folk black music and turned it into what is considered rock and roll. But Tyr said in chat, Hammer grew up on Elvis Presley and Little Richard, a little bit before my time. I'm more the Beatles and Electric Light Orchestra. So maybe 8 years later.
The Beatles, who are obviously overrated, as we discussed.
Guys, drive me crazy with that. All right, that's a good question for. Oh, you know what's even better? It's better than even doing a question. Let's do a poll. That way I can prove it. Start a poll. Are the Beatles overrated?
I will say yes, for the same reason that I mentioned on Twitter, where overrated doesn't mean bad. It just means
No, it doesn't.
that their reputation is
Better than the
more
performance.
than the actual quality of the product.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
I would say the Beatles are overrated in the same way that Firefly is overrated as a TV show. It's a good show, but people talk about it as if it was heaven sent, as a divine gift upon humanity, and it is not to that level of quality. It's very, very good, but it is not. It's a 9 out of 10, not a 15 out of 10, which is how people talk about both Firefly and the Beatles.
Well, I think there's mitigating circumstances to both. How's it going, Mike R? I think there's mitigating circumstances to both, because for the time that the Beatles existed, they were the most impactful at that time.
Oh, 100%,
I think I pointed out in my Twitter feed that if you take the Beatles and drop them into music today, not the impact that they had when they were in their time period.
I agree completely.
This had something to do with Van Halen too. We can get into that.
I think someone mentioned that Van Halen agreed that John Lennon was a better guitar player than him, and then everyone got like in the comments was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
It basically turned into Van Halen is God and Lennon sucks. Like, well, that's just as stupid as saying that the Beatles are God. It's like, no, Van Halen was a very talented guitar player. He's not, divine. He wasn't like heaven sent.
And
for me,
it's
the leaking of communism from John. Sorry, but like you could look at Yoko Ono and be like, "Oh, it's her fault." And I'm like, "No, it was him." I think he was really into communism at the time, and a lot of people back then really were, and it leaked into his lyrics. And when you start to hear that in his lyrics, you're like, you could have talent, sir, but I don't give a shit about your politics.
Well, I mean, I can always separate art from artist. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't pay that much attention to the lyrics of a song. Most of it, like, yes, if you listen to Imagine, there's a lot of communist themes in it, but the tune itself is well written and welcome. Like, I don't have a problem with the music to Imagine. It's just if you listen to the words, then yeah, it's mostly commie bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
I just yeah, I think it's because I liked the Monkees, and they weren't the same era. I own that they probably took a lot of their theme from the Beatles, but I liked them just as much. I was like, you know what? They never really pushed their politics on me. They were just entertaining.
Well, they were the Milli Vanilli of their time. They were
Yeah.
designed
Yes,
and
that's
packaged. The other thing about what we were talking about was Firefly, and the reason why Firefly has such a huge occult following is because it was canceled too soon. Too soon was the deal. Not just that it was canceled too soon. And that's why Trek is so big, because Trek was canceled too soon. And
Yes.
and the deal with Firefly was it started good and got progressively better until it was canceled. So everyone can look at it and say, well, if this is a
What would have
trajectory,
been?
yeah,
What would
that's
have
the
been?
big thing. That's the big thing. That's what really promotes it is it was so good and it was getting better. Imagine what the next 3 or 4 years of shows would have been like. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
makes
no, I
it
get that.
that's what makes it the legendary status. Not so much that it's a good show. It was a good show, but the potential, it was just, I don't know. It's like, having sex and not finishing. It's just like, I know something much
Yeah.
better is right around the corner. And guess what? You can't have it.
But that discussion on Twitter, there was one guy that really annoyed me because I think he might be either autistic or retarded, or just there is something wrong with that guy. Because I said,
Which guy?
do you think they sang "Imagine There's No Lennon" at his funeral? And the guy said, "I'm not sure."
Yeah. You didn't take
Like,
didn't take the fact that it was a joke. Some people just goes right over their
not
head.
at all. It's like
I'm not
I
gonna
was not
giggle at that.
I
sincerely
don't know.
asking. Of
I'll
course,
have
they
to
didn't sing
research that.
I think that's the thing that really got to me with that song was a lot of people actually do play that song at their weddings or their funerals, and it's like when you realize what the lyrics are about, I'm like, that's why I got offended. It was like I agree with you, Terry. It overall it has such a nice beat to it. It's such a nice sounding song.
Yeah.
You expect it to be played there, and then you realize what he's talking about. I'm like, you dirty asshole.
Yeah.
And I'm
That's why
going
everyone
to
comes to
upset
communists.
dividends. I never eat dessert. I eat my dinner and then that's it. I stop eating. I don't eat dessert. So apparently I'm doing it wrong. She says, your blue balls comparison with Firefly. She says, or eating dinner without dessert. No. I don't eat dessert. So I'm apparently blue balling myself every time I eat.
The results are in. 16 votes. 75% say the Beatles were overrated. Or are overrated.
Yeah. I think the present tense is what cements it. Like,
Yeah.
if you're saying in 1960, were they overrated? Probably not. I mean, there was a lot of hype surrounding them, but I think, they had such legendary impact that it's fair to say that that there's an accurate assessment. But in
Just because
2023, not so much.
just because you start a trend doesn't necessarily mean that you were the best at the trend. It's more of just sparking an
No,
idea for other people to kind of run with. And
of course.
you should absolutely give them credit for that because they did. But I don't doubt that when they hit the streets in the US, they influenced so many people who were like, you know what, I could do that and run circles around you. And that's what happened. People were like, okay, you know what, we're going to go with that. And
As soon as you said that, my mind went to they made for the streets.
Well, they kind of did. Like, I don't know. Like, I rewatch old videos with like, say, young version of Michael Jackson, because I do think young version of Michael Jackson had better pipes than older version of Michael Jackson. Like, he still carried on his tunes. Like, I'm talking about his vocals, but I'm sorry. I miss.
There's
I,
things
I
about the Beatles that people don't really know, and I think that might be part of it because like they're the only group to ever have 5 songs, the top 5 songs on the Billboard 100. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 at the same time.
That is impressive.
They're they have the most number one hits, and they had the most times at number one on Billboard through their career.
Yeah,
And, you
I
know,
think
in the second place is Mariah Carey.
no, but I think there's like I think if you're going to say in terms of success, then absolutely, they're incredibly the most successful band of all time. But if you're talking overrated, that generally relates more to the quality of the music, not how
or
successful it was, which
or
are two
people's
different.
perception of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
also I don't limit myself with just the Beatles because a lot of people come from England in terms of music. Like I was re-listening to David Bowie because I kept making the joke from the Labyrinth about not introducing that movie to 13-year-olds when you're 13 because all they care
yeah,
about is his crotch. Um, but yeah, I remember liking a couple of his songs. I mean, I grew out of it. Like there was a lot of times where I like, I don't want to listen to that. That's old stuff. And now that he's gone, I'm like, shit, I'm never going to hear any of it again outside of what he's recorded.
Frosted says Michael Jackson is more overrated than the Beatles, and that's true because all he did was rip off Weird Al. Like he heard Weird Al's "Eat It" and goes, "You know what? I can write a song basically the same. I'm just going to add one letter in front of it," and then Frosted did it and it was massive.
Everybody copied Weird Al.
Yeah, no, all the most successful songs are basically ripped off from Weird Al. It's crazy.
He's
Like
so
Madonna,
talented though.
she stole "Like a Surgeon" and just changed it into a virgin for some reason. Like it's really amazing how much people just rip that guy off.
Yeah.
He-
Jen's
he's
got a good point though, is that he was not just a good vocalist, because I've heard him, they've isolated his voice from the music. So you hear him singing a cappella and he's not auto-tuned and he's perfect. Perfect.
Oh yeah, he's
Timing,
very good.
tonality, diction, everything is absolutely perfect. And while he's doing all this, he's dancing like a crazy man on stage.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever watch that episode of Extras with Ricky Gervais where David Bowie is actually like singing a song about what a pathetic loser Ricky Gervais's character is?
No.
Oh, you got to see it. It's so funny. He's like, "Podgy little fat man, stupid little loser."
Ricky Gervais is really one of the funniest comics out there. It really is.
Yeah, he's very good.
Anyway.
Oh.
Lisa says in chat, I appreciate, or what was it? How the hell is Keith Richards still alive?
Yeah, that's true.
Mick Jagger's still alive.
Yeah, but Keith Richards is the meme. Like everyone looks at Keith Richards and like sees a zombie. It's like, what the fuck is keeping this guy alive?
They hold up each other's cheeks at this point.
It's the age, it's the mileage, really, because doing tours for 2 or 3 years at a shot and trying to keep yourself alive and well and through all that alcohol and drugs and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty hard to imagine, but they're still there.
Yeah, I stand by my joke. It's the blood of the young, Lisa. That could lead into another story, though, if we wanted to.
Yeah, it certainly makes you wonder. Sometimes I wonder about our politicians.
I wonder about a lot of them.
Frosted said that Michael Jackson could be a good singer, but his songs were nothing special. Like he even had a whole song about how bad he was. I mean, the guy was self-aware at least.
He did have a lot of hits, and Thriller kind of changed the market a bit, where he made it a movie as well as a song.
Yeah.
And the choreography was pretty outstanding. So he did move the needle a lot, but he didn't produce a lot. He wasn't prolific.
I think I don't know if it was if he got it through his siblings, but he had a tendency to go with the same kind of music that he knew would be trendy, you know, and a lot of the groups back then did that. Like a lot of people that I re-listen to now, I'm like, yeah, your songs are pretty similar too, because you know that's what their fans kind of liked. But
he had what, like maybe 10 big hits,
mm-hmm.
right? I mean, that's one Beatles album.
Yeah. But I mean, if you go through all his songs, like all of his, like he's got lots and lots and lots of songs that like they could have been hits. But like I said, they're very similar to each other in terms of what you're listening to. It's just his voice was just so powerful that you were like, yeah, I get people getting into that. But I stand by my opinion. Young Michael had some of the most amazing pipes on the planet.
One of my favorite moments was Conan O'Brien was interviewing Janet Jackson, and he says, "Okay, we can't do this interview without asking the obvious question. It's hanging in the air. We need to talk about your brother. How is Tito?"
Conan. Wow. Why don't I go ahead and set up the music poll for this evening? The people on Rumble know what music we're going to be.
Yes, they got the advanced screening.
Yeah. Am I pushing this too hard? I'm not pushing this too hard.
No, you did for a few seconds, just to be honest, but it went away, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. But some of the other things we had to talk about tonight, we could probably talk about that while I'm setting up a poll, because I can't do two things at once.
I said on Twitter that I support the writer's strike. I hope it lasts forever.
Okay. Hot take incoming.
I mean, they're basically saying we will not ruin beloved franchises or call you racist unless you give us more money. It's like, okay, bye. It's like, I'm quite content for you to never do that again. I have no problem with you. We accept your terms.
I also think this is a distraction from what's really kind of going on, because like, yes, there's actors involved on this strike now too. Like, yeah, they're calling it. But while this is going on, there are people who are happily making movies right now. The world doesn't revolve around Hollywood, believe it or not. There are people who are like, you know what, this is an opening to start our own stuff and launch it right now. Like, you guys are distracted, you know. And I think, I think they were trying to distract from more important stuff going on. And I know everyone. I'm going back to that movie that they're Finding Freedom. Because some of the stuff that's going on with the theaters, Terry, like at first I thought it was exaggerations, but then like as you start reading through some of those stories, you're like,
they don't want people watching it.
They really don't. And it's a very it's not like they put a lot of millions of dollars into it. Like, it's $1 million movie, but 14 million to make it, and they've made 100 million back. So, they're doing fine in that round. But it's the information that's in there. Like, I am gonna watch it at some point, see if I can get my mom to go with me. But it's the more you try to keep people from watching something, the more people want to watch it, because now they know that there's something up.
The movie about how bad pedophiles are is the one that they don't want you to see. I mean, they're kind of telling on themselves.
And the one that is pro pedophilia, Cuties, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, not only fine, that was endorsed. They were coming down on, if you don't like this movie, then you're alt-right Nazi. So apparently the non-Nazi position is a pro-pedophilia one. So I got to start working on my goose step.
Johnny Hellcat says, "You're not pushing it hard enough, Hammer." Phrasing. Anyway. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this, because supposedly the contract works out that every 3 years they go into the same arbitration process, that it's kind of like built in to be that way intentionally. So every 3 years it's, meet our demands or it's a strike. Then 3 years later it's meet our demands. It's the same thing over and over again. And
I think they should take the opposite approach. I think they should be like, that's a lovely Star Wars you've got there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. You either meet our demands, or we've got Kathleen Kennedy ready and
To ruin more.
willing to make 4 more Star Wars movies. I mean,
Have
it's
you heard
your
what
call,
they're
man.
Have you heard what they're asking for?
No, I don't
Yeah,
care.
they're asking for their basic thrust. Hey, phrasing. Their basic thrust is that they want, obviously pay increases at 6%, 5%,
Naturally.
and 5% until the next bargaining point. And if you look at the amount of money they're asking for, they're basically not even keeping up with inflation. So what they're asking for is really not that much, but because they're saying, well, you should get this from the streaming money, you should take it from there. The corporates are saying, no, we're not going to do it. They're stonewalling them. So
Well, I
if you
mean,
look at this, it's
I
really, they really are not asking for much and not getting it.
well, I mean, I think they're getting paid what they're worth, and if they're going to write garbage, they're going to get paid appropriately. I don't see a problem with them getting
I
shit money.
also don't doubt that a lot of the writers that are striking right now are also kind of like Anna Kasparian in the fact that they voted in a lot of the taxes that they're pounded upon. Like I don't doubt that they probably do deserve a little bit more money. Like let's be real. Like what I said before about there being too many writers, that's true. Like there are too many writers. They could make more money if they had less writers. Better quality writers making more money would be better for Hollywood.
Cannibalistic touches on something that I was going to bring up, which is if an AI can do your job, get better at it.
That's what I mean. Like
but V was making the same point. He said an AI cannot make a better Lord of the Rings, but it can make a better Rings of Power.
Yeah,
and
yeah. Sorry.
No, and people were saying, "Have you read the shit that AI comes out with?" And it's like, that's his point. AI is shit, but it's still better than what the humans are coming up with.
It's also peddling the dime a dozen, is what they're saying. Is they could get monkeys to do your work, but they're going to go with the robots because the monkeys are still more expensive than the robots. And that means that they're a dime a dozen, and their quality has gone downhill. So they have to cut out the people who, let's be real, have no talent. They are plaguing you. They are the tumblers of the writing world. You need to be real and be like, I'm sorry that your views matter so much to you, but maybe you should just write signs for the picket lines because you're sucking at scripts.
They shouldn't do that because, as V also pointed out, the AI could write better picket signs than they could.
Zek says in chat, did you hear that during the making of the movie, they actually saved like 200 kids from traffickers? I guess we're talking about Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen it yet?
I haven't.
I hope that's true. If they actually saved 200 kids, that is amazing.
It's what I was going to say next on that one. Like with the shit they're doing with the theaters, the next step for people who want to watch this stuff and don't want to deal with crap at a theater is they are going to have watch parties. Because at what point do they just start to stream it next? Because I could see the Daily Wire doing a deal with this movie and being like, hey, when they boot it out of the theaters, we'll run it for you. And it's a lot cheaper than the theater. So you'll have family watch parties where, people will use sharing streams to share with their friends, and everyone's going to watch it because we want to know what's going on. We have for like 4 years, like beyond my lifetime, there's been people aware of the fact that there's something going on. And anything that links to proof, and they're like, oh, it's a conspiracy. I don't care if it is. I want to see what they have to say. Even if it only gives me a grain of salt, that's still a grain that I need to create the hill that we need to go after these people.
At this point, I'm willing to rename conspiracy theorists as fortune tellers.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like they're right. They seem to be right more often than they're wrong. So let's just sign me up. The moon is made out of cheese. I now believe. I'm a believer.
Well, I want to see it, but I don't want to see it. It's kind of, I want to see it because everybody's been talking about it and it's a serious subject, and I want to be able to talk on it in a knowledgeful way. But I'm being told that people are walking out people, not women, people are walking out crying.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I don't know if I want to get into that.
if there's a way for me to watch it for free, I will. I'm not going to buy a ticket. I'm not going to like go to the movies just to see it or anything. But if there's like a, or maybe like $5, if I spend $5 to watch it on YouTube, but YouTube would never host it.
I think I've been braver about seeing hard truths ever since I really watched the tapes from the Jim Jones. Like, really understood what was going on in those tapes. Like, I'm not talking about scribe stuff. Like, I've listened to all the, like, there was a time when you could find it on YouTube. I think you still can, but you could listen through all those tapes. And in all honesty, this thing has been going on for longer than that, and I can't turn a blind eye to what are kids in need. And I just want to know if there's things that we could do. And I don't know if that movie's going to do that. Like, I don't doubt that part's probably a little hyped up because it is a movie based off of it. But if they can show me what it is that they're doing, and if there's people out there that,
I think if Daily Wire hosted it on their platform, I would sign up again.
Mhm.
Because I signed up to the Daily Wire purely to watch What Is a Woman, and then just like immediately canceled the subscription because I didn't actually want to be subscribed to them for anything else. So if they, or Blaze or some sort of network like that hosted the movie for like reasonably cheap, I'd probably sign up, watch it, and then cancel.
I would rather do it that way too, just because if it is a tearjerker, I'd rather be at home so I can cry in peace.
Well, I mean, I probably won't be crying at it, but I still want to like see it for cultural relevance, and if I could support them with like, I don't want to pay too much for it. It's still, I'm not like a movie guy, so it's not something I want to spend money on. But if it was like $5-10, I'd throw that their way just to see it.
Yeah, that's why sorry.
I was just going to quickly say that I don't know if it's available on torrent sites yet. I've looked a couple times. I didn't see anything, so I didn't really look very hard. And some of the big torrent sites have gone down recently. I don't know if you guys have been aware of that.
I don't really use torrent sites, so I didn't know.
Yeah, there was a big site, very big site, not quite as big as the Pirate Bay, but there was a big site called rarbg.to that was like, it was very much like the Pirate Bay, but it was put together much easier to use. And that's gone. Maybe a month ago. Yeah. So the only thing out there right now that's really good as far as if you want to get torrents is Pirate Bay. So, but I mean, it may be illegal in your area. I don't know. Depends on where you live. This is an international show, so in the States you can't do it. It's illegal. But other places it may be acceptable to use it. I don't know. I don't know what international law is. Use at your own risk. I'm not advocating anything here.
I don't know the legality in Australia. I don't really do much in the way of piracy. I like everything I want to buy is usually affordable, so it's like I might as well just give them the money. Like as Gabe Newell says, piracy is a service issue. So if you give me something that's worth the money, and I'll pay it.
I mean, if it's not available on Netflix or Hulu or Prime, Amazon Prime.
I'd rather not give those guys money.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to see it, what do you do?
Well, that's what I was saying. If it was like the Daily Wire hosting it, I'd give them some money, but I'm not going to give Amazon money.
Daily Wire hosts their own stuff.
Yeah, but if they did some sort of contract to,
I could see them. I could see them doing it after the fact, like especially with all the shit that's going on with the theaters, and you can tell that people want to see it. And they like making money. The Daily Wire, believe it or not, likes to make money too.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what that's what I mean when I say to Hollywood, like just because you guys want to go on strike doesn't mean that there aren't other people who want to make money. And that's not a bad thing for them either. Like if they do have decent writers in and amongst them, which I bet they probably do, they can pick them off and hire them and be like, listen, as long as you're not woke, you're fine. Like I know Eric July is doing comics, but that guy was talking about animating his comic at some point. And given the fact that two of his GoFundMe's have been successful, if he keeps making successful comics, I could see him building up enough money to eventually launching something like that. Which means, yeah, he's going to need like different writers. Like it's the same writers that do comics, but you need something for a script, which is different. So like snubbing your nose at people is not a good thing. So don't be a jackass on the internet like I am.
Yeah.
I'm still hireable, by the way, but I'm not an actor, so I'm not worried about that. But at the same time, these people need to start thinking outside the box, because Hollywood isn't everything, and I do think Hollywood is willing to sell itself to anything. Not just.
I mean, my advice to them can be summed up in the same 3 words that they were so fond of: learn to code.
Yes.
Yeah. I actually typed that into a Twitter the other day about learning to code.
Yeah. I just say that because I don't know how their union strike is working. Like, I don't know if there's people who can cross the line to continue working. I don't know if it's like, if you do that, you get fired. Some places are like that. So if there's people who are like, I would happily work right now if I didn't have to be stuck in this. And those are the people I mean.
I think if you're part of the union and you work anyway, then they kick you out of the union. They don't really want strike breakers in their own union. I think.
Yeah, so I'm
very quick trip out of the union if you did.
Yeah, that. So that's what I mean. Like the people who are swept up, who are just itching to work right now, but can't.
Yeah. I mean, my understanding is that if the show you write makes money, then you tend to make money too. So if you're writing shit, and let's face it, they are,
yes,
then you get paid shit. I see no real problem with that.
And I agree with that too. Like if your show has gone downhill because your writing's gone downhill, then yes, you should make less money for it.
It's like if you work at McDonald's and you constantly burn the fries, then you turn to your boss and say, well, if you give me a 50% pay raise, I'll stop burning the fries. It's like, no, I'll fire you and hire someone that can actually cook fries.
Lisa says, I need to do something about my screens. Everything is so small. I can barely read anything. Lisa says in chat, I'm getting hyped for Oppenheimer. I haven't. I saw some like screenshots of it and that kind of stuff, and it looks like a really good like thriller kind of deal. But the reason I mention it is because the competing movie in the theaters is Barbie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you guys heard anything about that?
So I haven't watched it myself, but from what I've heard from the people reviewing it's 30 minutes of what looks like a little bit of nostalgia, and then the rest of it is pure feminism crap. Like Ken is basically the stalker. Anyone who predicted that he was going to be the villain is probably right, because he's basically stalking
he's a man
the entire time, and it's just it's a propagandist feminist film. That's why
I do need to ask: is Barbie black in this
No,
film?
There is a black Barbie, but she's not. She's Margot Robbie.
They're dropping the ball. I expect race swaps in every Hollywood movie. It's not good enough. They need to lift their game.
I was looking through my Twitter trying to find somebody. I don't know if it was. I don't remember who the person was who posted the Twitter thread, but he said that it was just completely beginning to end nothing but feminist bullshit.
I can believe that.
And he said that he's going to do a review of the movie. He said a review incoming, but I don't know if it was Flash or who it was. I'm trying to look through. I'm trying to look through right now, trying to find out who it was, and I just can't. You know how I am with Twitter. I use it every day, but I can't find shit when I go looking for it.
Yeah, no, I don't know why that is. I can tweet, but I can't use any of the advanced features of Twitter either.
Yeah, the problem is I heard about it earlier today and read it earlier today, but my feed goes by so quick that it would take me an hour to go back to that point where he said it, because it was like 5 hours ago, and I get
And every time you mention this, I've got to point out, you think you've got it bad. I follow 845 accounts.
You're crazy, man. You're crazy, man.
I follow everyone.
It's not that I expected Barbie to be trans frosted. It's the part where I stock shelves. I stock shelves. So this week we got. So actually, it's been the whole month we've been peddling Barbie because the movie's out. We actually do have a set for Barbie where she's got her little sister who's special needs. It is legitimately a special needs Barbie.
Wow. Well, I was not looking forward to it. I just didn't understand why it was so popular. Why everybody was talking about it. I was like, it's a fucking Barbie movie. I mean, what is basically Legally Blonde all over again? You know, it's the same thing. And even that was a little bit feminist, but not bad. But when I saw this on Twitter,
I never watched Legally Blonde. It had zero appeal to me.
this the girl's name was Elle something, Elle Pearson or something. I can't remember.
Alicia Silverstone in that? Or no, that was TUES.
No, it's the country girl that got stopped once and said, "Do you know who I am?" What's her name? She was in that movie with Mark Ruffalo, Just Like Heaven.
I don't know.
I just gotta say, Frosted, that if Barbie gets a
Reese
bulge before
Witherspoon.
Ken does, I think Ken should go on strike.
Reese Witherspoon. I was just thinking back to the movie. I'm pretty sure it's Reese Witherspoon was in Legally Blonde.
Yep. So
I would have preferred her as a Barbie. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't hate Margot. I just think she got dragged into the feminist scene, and I'm like, I'm sorry you tanked your own career.
Probably is going to have an impact on her career.
All of them have. Everything she's done since
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, has pretty much been feminist in its nature, and she's just delving into it. And I'm like, maybe she believes the crap she's peddling, but it's tanking her career. At
the opposite stuff got her where she is. Why didn't she just stay with it?
I don't know. I think it's a lot of things in Hollywood where, like, if you don't take the job, you're not going to get the money. And I mean, she's got the money for it, so good for you. But
she played Harley Quinn and gave a boner to about every male on the planet. And then she spread her legs in Wolf of Wall Street, and everyone was like, "Holy crap!" And then she starts going into this feminist shit, and and then the picture that she did without makeup, she's mid. That whole thing, she's on a downhill spiral, man.
I think it's the same thing in Hollywood. I think the people who are willing to spend the money to give you the jobs are like, yeah, you're going to follow this script. Like, there's been a couple, like the girl, it wasn't just her. It was her and one of the other actresses, but she played Wednesday in the new Addams Family, and they were talking about the scripts that they're getting, and like, even they don't take them seriously. They're like, this is garbage. Like, I don't want to peddle this because she's a Mary Sue, and so I could see her just taking this job because it's like, well, if you don't take it, your reputation's going to be gone. And I do think it's a little bit like that, but at the same time, though, like, after a while, when do you start buying into the crap that you're peddling, like, to make it seem authentic? I think she does buy a little bit into it by now. And if it hasn't burnt her out, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, like I said before, if Barbie gets a bulge before Ken does, I would protest if I was Ken. At what point?
To me, Wednesday Addams is just Christina Ricci. Like, I grew up with the movies from the 90s.
Yeah.
So that's who I think of when I think Wednesday Addams. Though, I mean, Lisa Loring is the original, and probably if I went back and watched the cartoon, not the cartoon, the animated, the TV show from the 60s, where John Aston and was Jackie Coogan as Fester and all them. That's probably better than the movies, but I grew up with the movies, so that's my mental image of the characters.
What was the name of the show?
Addams Family.
Mm-hmm.
Addams Family, right.
Yeah, the Wednesday one is the new version of it, but like I do think Jenna tried to save that character because she does seem like the type to have watched the original you know, there's this thing with feminists, and I don't doubt that there's people in other minority groups who understand what I'm saying, where they speak for everybody else. But it's like, no, there's a lot of girls who don't buy into any of that shit. In fact, I'd say the majority of us don't. So if I grew up watching like the old Addams Family, I do kind of want Wednesday to be like the original Wednesday. I don't want her to be woke. She was never a feminist. She would have probably taken the piss out of you for that. She's like in a witchcraft family. Like they've got a hand as a pet, and their uncle is a big hair moth with a hat. Like I think she has entirely different priorities than like the white supremacies and the men are holding us down.
Yeah.
Like her mom rules that house.
I have a question. Mr. Adams said in chat, bro, that TikTok weirdo lady looks better than Margot. Some people are just ooked. I think he's talking about that girl. Is that actually Belle Delphine, or is that a lookalike that does that?
That was Cherry Crush. That was Cherry Crush doing.
It's a different person.
Hot dog yum. That was, her name is. That was Cherry Crush. Is the name of that lady?
Is she an OnlyFans person or just a TikToker?
She's a literal porn star. Oh. And she also does ASMR on YouTube and whatever that bullshit is on TikTok. And she makes a lot of money whoring herself out on social media, basically.
You notice that other people are doing it now?
Oh, the men are doing it. Everyone's doing it. What
the hell's wrong with Gen Z, man?
Oh, I saw the best video on Lotus where Callum and Dan were talking about that NPC trend, and Callum is just like, yeah, it's the internet, and Dan is like, what the fuck is going on here?
Well, I don't doubt that it's mentally damaging, but at least it's not physically damaging. It's kind of like, someone did point out, it's kind of like the water challenge, the bucket with the ice water challenge.
Yeah.
When everyone was starting to do it.
Yeah,
but at least they're not eating Tide Pods.
That bucket challenge was reasonable because the money went to Alzheimer's, right?
Yes.
It was Lou Gehrig's disease.
Lou Gehrig's disease. Which
ALS, whatever that stands for.
Yeah. But this is just, there's no personality behind this. This is just NPC kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, literally.
It reminds me of Max Headroom. Remember Max Headroom?
Yeah. Like you could record 5 or 6 reactions and then just have them like set up on a trigger. You don't even need to be there. You could just like let a literal AI run that for you. And like that's how low effort the whole thing is.
Ice cream, yum.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I don't doubt that script's actually weird to do, though. Like the first time, you've got to be stumbling over yourself and being like, what the fuck?
It wasn't too far off base that I thought that she had something phallic underneath her because she's bouncing the entire time she's doing it. And it struck me when I saw it that, is she bouncing on something like something you get at a porn store or something like that? Is she actually having
probably
sex?
She's a porn star, as I said.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, is she actually got something inserted while she's doing this? Because
I would not be surprised.
It crossed my mind.
But it was just so funny because Dan from the Lotus Citizens is like trying to hype up like, this is like, what's good? This is crazy. And Callum's like, it's just the internet, dude. Like, have you not seen it before? Like, he just is like completely unfazed. It's like, yeah, people do weird shit on the internet.
It's less self-harmy than like, say, the boat challenge. Like that's another one that came out recently where people were jumping off of boats that were going at high speeds and then pretty much cell-phoning themselves right away because it's like hitting cement.
You guys reading chat? I'm trying to read chat while we're talking.
Yeah, I'm reading chat.
Like, so if you hear me laughing in the background, it's because chat's cracking me up. Max Headroom is old. I mean, Max Headroom is 80s or something like that. So I didn't expect.
I was a little kid.
I don't really expect very many people to understand it, but Adam put in chat, dude, max headroom. It's like,
Yeah,
all right, I'm old, okay? I'm allowed to.
I don't remember anything specific apart from the name and like the general appearance. I don't like.
Yeah.
I couldn't quote it to you like any lines from the show, but I do remember Max Headroom being a thing when I was a kid.
And then Spud followed that up, but fuck's sake, Sam, it just made me twitch because I did a little imitation of it. Chat makes me laugh.
Yeah.
It is 10 bells.
I'm still good if you guys are, but I know sometimes you get humped.
Do you want to talk a little bit about running over protesters, or do you want to talk about disowning traitors?
Well, I'm in favor of both, so that's my thoughts on the matter.
I mean, it crosses my mind every time I see these people walking down the road. I think to myself, God, if I had an 18-wheeler, I wouldn't even stop. I'd aim. I'd go to jail, but they'd stop doing it too.
So I don't know if this rumor is true because I did see it on the Twitter, but I did hear of a case where they glued themselves so badly to the cement that like they're going to lose their hands.
They used epoxy and cement and cemented themselves down. And when they took the cement out, it was a block on his hand, and they tried to remove it and they couldn't. They said the term they used. They said it looks like they may have to glove him.
Yeah. And I'm of the opinion that if you've actually glued yourself to something, leave them there.
Yeah.
Leave them there.
Soon enough.
Like I'm not saying forever, but at least long enough.
No, I'm saying forever.
I get where you're coming from, Terry, but at least long enough to really set an example, because
if they did it of their own free will, they glued themselves to something. Okay, that was stupid. You are going to realize very quickly just how stupid that was. Have fun.
At least long enough for them to really regret it. And I get where you're coming from, Terry. It's just,
look, it'd be like if someone glued them to the thing, then yes, help them. If they glued themselves to something, oh, that was dumb.
Yeah, get what you ask for, right?
Yeah.
Be clear that I said that if I had an 18-wheeler. I'm not going to run over them in my Corvette, because you can't be under my Corvette without lifting its tires off the ground. It's that close to the ground. So if I were to run one of those guys over, first of all, I wouldn't take a chance on hurting my car. And second, I'd never be able to get away because the car would be up in the air with the human being being crushed underneath it. So
I forget who it was. It was someone like Volkswagen or something. When the protesters glued themselves, they just turned off the lights and left.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm. They were in a showroom or something like that, or or something like that. They were in there. Yeah. It was a showroom showing all the Volkswagen products over years, and it was just a display area, and they glued themselves to the floor, and they were asking for buckets they could pee into, and they said no. And they didn't give them to them.
No, they shouldn't. God. This is like I said, that was dumb. You'll soon realize just how dumb it was. Have fun.
I wonder whatever happened, and we never heard part 2 from that.
Well, I can tell you that it's wearing off on people. Like the disruption of other people's lives so that they can virtue signal. And it's like they don't even care about the real problems either. Like, let's be real. All of our leaders went to the same summit on private jets, and they act like they don't do that kind of shit. Like, you guys had what was it? I think it was Kerry got called out by somebody because he used his wife's private jet and was like, "Oh, I don't use a private jet."
I saw that.
And it was like, "Yeah, actually, you do. You use your wife." And
he was saying, "I've never owned a private jet," and then someone pointed out, like, well, what about this? Oh, no, my wife has a private jet.
Like, they act like they aren't really projecting on everybody else what it is that they do. And a lot of these protesters, I don't doubt that some of them are probably poor scientists, because like there's German ones involved, and I don't think they get paid any more than ours do. But some of them are just overhyped people who don't understand that they form their own cult. Like, they don't get outside of their own box, because there's other scientists that would probably refute a lot of what the shit they're saying. And that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to argue their point with other scientists, not glue themselves to the pavement, because that doesn't help anybody. And yeah, now they're going to have to fix the road because they had to chip their hands off. It's it's also really, really dangerous. Like, there was one that I saw today where the road was blocked, and the guy's wife is going into
Pregnant.
labor.
Yeah, she was
Like,
pregnant.
And they I think he crashed his car a little bit, but at the
She walked
same
out.
time,
The protester walked out in front of him.
yeah,
He veered away to keep from hitting her and crashed into another car. Kind of sideswiped it, kind of embedded
yeah,
the corner. And his wife is pregnant in the car. She wasn't, as far as I know, she wasn't going into childbirth, but she was pregnant in the car. He got out and went after her. She ran
yeah,
across the road and she ran past another protester who was a male. The male protester stopped him because he was trying to protect his girl, whatever. And yeah, I'm taking all this off of Jen, but yeah, he knocked the guy out. The guy who drove the car, just bang, and that guy was out.
rightfully so.
Absolutely.
Like, this isn't just like, this is the most important person in his life, and you maybe just put her and his future child at risk. I don't give a shit about what you're protesting about. You're done, because if you've taken them from me, I'll go to jail too. And I don't have that relationship, but yeah, I would go to jail too. Like, fuck it, I'll take you with me.
This isn't really happening in the States, right? This is happening over in Europe, right? Am I wrong?
For some of those, yes, but you guys do have your protests. They're just not as big,
Okay.
and they're probably in Portland for the most part. And let's be real, nobody gives a shit about Portland at this point.
Yeah. Seattle or Portland, one of the two.
But a lot of it is up here too. So, like, anything that's up here, I would be weary of it. Because
you're getting it in Canada?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had the start of it for like the last 4 years. It's just we don't have the buildup that Europe has, because they actually do have more travel between countries than we do. In my own country, that COVID lockdown really did kind of damage our traveling. That's not to say that we haven't picked it back up, but to get from England to France to Germany, it's significantly easier than you'd think. So, you're going to see more of them doing it there. But here, yeah, I've seen stuff like that. Like, they started clogging some of our farms. They started doing the roadway shit. They just don't really want to do it here, because I think that they know that we've been high strung for a long time, which means we're about to snap.
If that's true, then they definitely don't want to do it in the States, because they'll just get fucking shot.
That's the truth of it. They don't, because they know that we are all really, really sick of it. It's like, I wouldn't be surprised if the kid in Japan doesn't get his ass hit at some point, because people are just sick of it. Like, this disregard for other people that's going on everywhere in the Western world, that's leaking out everywhere else. It's fucking with how we need to survive. And at the end of the day, that's what people care about. I care about my job. I care about trying to bring in my income. I care about my family. I care about my parents. I care about my friends. I care about you guys, because I know you. I care about our chat, because you guys all care about us. But at the end of the day, like, I'm so sick of these people and their overbearing cult-like behavior. And it's cult. It's cult
It
talk.
is.
And up here, like, we've been on fire for so long. I'm so tired of it. Like, I know some of it is natural. It is the season of natural now, but
are you guys still on fire?
Yeah, we had to bring in the military for BC, and I joked with Scribe earlier that I'm sorry it's not the part of BC where the hidden pot farms are. But
we're not being affected as much as we used to be. Have you knocked it down, or is the winds just shifting, or what's the deal?
It's the other side of Canada now.
Oh, so the fire has moved.
Yeah. It's just it's really depressing. Like, they act like we don't care about our environment up here, but that's not true. I grew up going camping as a kid because it's the cheapest holiday you could go on. At least it used to be, and now it's not. So a lot of people don't go camping as often as they used to, but we do a lot of that. We are outdoorsy up here. There's not a lot of stuff to do up here. So yeah, you find yourself finding other things to do. And nature is one of those ways to do it. You just don't tangle with bears because they'll eat you. They don't give a fuck. Don't tangle with moose. They, yet again, don't give a fuck. They'll kill you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the rule
I've
of
seen
thumb.
some pictures of moose lately. I didn't realize how big they are. They're undercarriage, like they're the tops of their legs, not even their shoulders, but where the legs meet the bottom of that's above my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. It's like this very thin elephants running around.
But yeah, like we do have a lot of respect for our environment. We don't like seeing fires for days and days. It's just when I know that I couldn't call out the fact that it was arson, and I know it was by default because I called someone a koala killer, I stand by that. But I'm standing by it because I know that enough of these fires were arson. They carried it on. They act like they haven't been carrying it on. And we're still kind of in the season of elections. Like, I'm sorry for Toronto. You guys should just build a wall around Toronto. It'll save you from bullshit later. I don't know if our Canadians are also in the chat, but just build a wall now because she's gonna raise all your taxes and you're gonna have like the worst homeless.
Assassin, I'm not qualified to answer your question. You should be asking Jen that. Do you see him in chat? So who in the Kanakistan government is going to jail for criminal incompetence that started these forest fires? That's really your question, Jen. Trudeau?
No.
See, the thing is he's never really going to be caught with anything because he's just been traveling around and he's been doing that on purpose. Like as far as I know, his entanglement and stuff is somewhere else. But that doesn't mean that the other party leaders don't have a hand in it. And I'm not talking conservatives. I am talking NDP. Like NDP.
Everyone knows that when it comes to organized crime, the very, very people at the top, they're never the ones who get done in.
If he's going to get caught,
or the lackeys to do it all.
Like if he's going to get caught with anything, it's going to be involvement with, believe it or not, I wouldn't be surprised if he isn't on that list too.
Well, it seems like the people who manage Canadians' forests in general are the same people who manage California, because neither one of them wants to do the work necessary to keep these fires from happening.
I do think some of it's deliberate.
No.
Like I do, because our forestry's been screaming for years. Like they've been crying for years. They need help, but it's also the old school guys are gone. Like a lot of them are gone. So
you have to dedicate your life to it. You have to just basically be up in a huge tower watching over a certain area to see if anything happens, and that's all you can do for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that? Besides me, who wants to do that? Give me a PC and a good internet connection, I could do that.
Right?
I mean, there was a video out on YouTube just a couple days ago that was recent of a guy, a day in the life kind of deal, of a guy in doing, I don't even know if it was American or I don't know where he was. It sounded like he was somewhere in North America, but he just went through his entire day. I get up, I do this, I take a shower, I set up these things, and I monitor this area, and I check every 5 minutes, and and see, look over there. Right now, there's a fire going on. He goes, and there's a fire going on. He's like, I've already contacted these people, and there'll be 2 helicopters coming in. Blah blah blah. And it just goes through his entire day like that. And I think to myself, geez, dude, you haven't seen another human being the entire fucking day.
Sounds like heaven.
For you and
like
me.
If you're really into nature, it kind of is, like it does get to me in the city a little bit. Like my city went from being kind of small to really large over my lifetime. And yeah, I like that we have a national park. I can go out and honestly, if I want to see deer, I can see deer. The US has the same problem. If you guys want to go see deer, you can go see deer.
They come to my house on a regular basis.
Yeah.
they're cute enough. I don't encourage people feeding them bread though, because they're probably a celiac. The explanation of what they deal with sounded like a celiac. It made me laugh.
You don't feed the deer. That's completely backwards. They feed you.
Right? Right? But I like getting my own moments where I get to absorb watch something in nature. Like, yeah, if I saw like a moose or an elk, or you guys have a lot more buffalo than we do, but we get them on occasion.
Mhm.
I would keep my distance though. Like, just because something cute doesn't mean it likes you. Like they do see us as the kind of things that would eat them, so they're not encouraged to like you. But I have a city that's surrounded by rabbits at the moment. Like, the jackrabbit population kind of went boom. So yeah, I walk around the corner. I'm like, there's 3 rabbits on this lawn. All 3 of them have strategically posed themselves in such a way where I'm like, are you pretending to be lawnmowers?
Well, where there's rabbits, you need holy hand grenades. I saw a documentary on it.
Yeah, I have rabbits from time to time across the lawn. A lot of squirrels and chipmunks. I have a group of turkeys that pass by every couple of weeks. And
So 1, 2, 5. I mean 3. Then you throw the grenade.
So, and that's just in Pennsylvania. So I just happen to be in a forested area, so I see a lot of wildlife and that kind of stuff. But it's mostly birds. And one of the neighbors has decided to buy a cat and let it just run around killing animals. So, but, well, yeah, hunger is set in. Terry, you hungry? I'm hungry.
Yes, I am hungry.
Yeah, we should probably get out of here. Tonight's choice of music, The Vapors, turned out to be number 1 on our list for the poll tonight. So 50%. Thanks, fam, as always, for chatting with us tonight. If you can't wait for the next Wednesday's show, remember the Minions are live every evening, including weekends, with most shows starting around 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. Hosts and start times are linked in the description down below. Don't forget our pre-show on Rumble. That's where all the good stuff happens. That stream usually starts around 8:30ish, whenever everyone's here to enjoy. We'll be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. as usual. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll see you again next week. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. And gals.
And this, and that, and this, and that, and this.